On a brisk winter day, London was alive with its usual rush, an endless stream of people moving through its streets, the sounds of traffic blending with the murmur of conversations. The air was filled with a faint mist. The city was busy, vibrant, and, in its way, among the crowd was a man who seemed to blend in seamlessly. He wore a simple coat, a wide scarf wrapped around his neck, and a baseball cap pulled. He walked with his hands in his pockets, his pace unhurried but deliberate. This man was Prince William. It wasn't a planned appearance, nor was it a day filled with official duties or meticulously arranged photo opportunities. Today, there were no cameras, no entourage, no royal protocol to follow. William had set out on his own, eager to experience the city as an ordinary person, to walk among its people, unobserved and unrecognized. As he wandered down Oxford Street, one of the busiest shopping districts in London, William observed the city from a new perspective. The bright lights of shop windows reflected on the damp pavement, creating a kaleidoscope of colors that seemed to move with the rhythm of the crowd. He saw couples holding hands and street performers entertaining passers-by. Yet, for all its liveliness, there were shadows. Along the edges of the street, away from the bright shop fronts, William noticed individuals huddled against walls or seated on the cold ground. These were the invisible people of the city, people who passed by the crowd without anyone noticing the little girl. They just walked on, paying attention to their phones, and some people were in a hurry to get back to work. She was small, 10 years old, with a thin frame wrapped in clothes far too light for the cold. The little girl sat on the pavement, her back against the wall of a closed shop, holding a piece of cardboard with the shaky writing that read, "My dream is to go to school and help parents." William was drawn to her. Something about the sight of this small child, sitting alone amidst the bustling city, stopped him in his tracks. He couldn't walk away. William slowed his steps to her. He approached her slowly, lowering himself to her level. "Hello, what is your name?" he said softly, his voice warm. Anna looked up, startled, her large brown eyes meeting his. For a moment, she seemed unsure of how to react. At first, she seemed shy, but after seeing the sincerity in his expression, she gently replied, "I'm Anna." William asked, "Gently, continue. Why are you sitting somewhere alone?" "Can I sit here with you for a bit?" he asked. Anna nodded slowly. William eased himself down onto the cold pavement beside her, ignoring the curious glances of passers-by. For a moment, neither of them spoke. William let the silence settle, giving Anna time to grow comfortable with his presence. Finally, he gestured toward her sign. "Can you tell me about your dream?" Anna glanced at him, then back down at the ground. "I just want to go to school," she said quietly. "I used to go, but then I couldn't anymore." Why not?" William asked, his tone gentle, encouraging her to continue. She took a deep breath. "My dad lost his job. My family couldn't pay for our house, so we had to leave. Now we stay at a shelter, but it's hard." Her voice wavered as she spoke, and she looked away. William's heart tightened. It wasn't just the words that struck him, but the way she said them, with the resignation of someone far too small to carry such burdens. "What do you like about school?" he asked, hoping to lighten the conversation. Anna's face brightened slightly. "I liked reading and drawing," she shrugged, her small shoulders rising and falling. "Mama says we just have to keep going. She says things will get better one day." William nodded. "Your mama sounds like a very strong person, and she's lucky to have such a brave daughter." They sat in silence for a while, watching the world move around them. The city didn't stop for them, didn't pause to acknowledge the quiet conversation taking place on its cold, bustling streets. People hurried past, their faces buried in scarves, their thoughts consumed by their own lives. William glanced at Anna. She was staring ahead, her expression numb but distant. He wanted to say something that would lift her spirits. Then, an idea came to him. He turned to her and asked, "What's your favorite food?" The question caught her off guard. She blinked, then looked at him with a hint of curiosity. "I like pizza," she said after a moment. For the first time since their conversation began, Anna smiled, just a little. It was a small spark, but to William, it was everything. Then William got up and left. Anna watched him blend into the crowd. She felt a pain that she couldn't put into words, and she tried to cling to what he said. Time passed slowly, and she watched people move about as usual. She sat there, her hands clutching her knees tightly, the cold seeping into her fingers. For a moment, she wondered if she had imagined the whole thing. The minutes dragged on. People passed by as they always did, indifferent to the small girl sitting on the pavement. Her heart sank at the thought, and she curled tighter into herself. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she saw a figure approaching. At first, she wasn't sure it was him, but as he came closer, she recognized the familiar scarf and coat, though now his arms were laden with something that made her sit up straighter. Draped over one arm was a thick, puffy winter jacket, with a pair of warm gloves poking out from one of its pockets. In his other hand, he held a box of pizza, the heat from it causing steam to rise faintly into the cold air. Anna's eyes widened in disbelief. She blinked rapidly, as if trying to confirm that what she was seeing was real. William said, smiling, as he crouched down in front of her again. "Here, this is for you." He carefully unfolded the jacket and held it out to her. For a moment, she hesitated, staring at it as though she didn't quite know what to do. He said, "Try it on. It'll keep you warm." Ush. With trembling hands, Anna reached out and took the jacket. It was soft, heavier than anything she had worn in a long time. And when she slipped it on, the warmth enveloped her like a protective cocoon. She looked up at him, her eyes glistening with gratitude. "And these," he said, pulling the gloves from the pocket, "to keep your hands warm." She took the gloves, clutching them to her chest for a moment before putting them on. Then he handed her the pizza box. The smell of melted cheese and tomato sauce filled the air, and her stomach growled audibly. He said with a chuckle, "It's all yours." Anna opened the box cautiously, as if afraid it might disappear if she wasn't careful. She took a slice and bit into it, her face lighting up as the warmth and flavor spread through her. As she ate, William sat beside her again, watching her closely. There was something about the way she held herself, even now, that struck him. This tiny, fragile girl who had endured so much, but still held on to a sliver of hope. When she had finished a slice, Anna looked up at him and said softly, "Why are you helping me?" Her question caught him off guard. He thought for a moment, then replied, "Because you deserve it. And most of all, you deserve to go to school and chase your dreams." Her eyes filled with tears, and she wiped them quickly with the back of her gloved hand. William's expression softened. "I know it's hard, Anna, but I'm going to make sure you and your family have a safe place to live. And I'll help you get back to school so you can draw all that you want." Ush. Her mouth fell open in shock. You mean it?" He nodded. "I promise." Anna stared at him, his words sinking in. For so long, her world had been defined by difficulties. Too little food, too little warmth, too little hope. And now, here was this man, this stranger, offering her something she hadn't dared to believe in for a long time, a chance. Unable to hold back, she threw her arms around him, hugging him tightly. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice muffled against his coat. William patted her back gently, his own eyes misting over. He didn't know what had driven him to this moment, but he felt a deep sense of purpose. This wasn't just about helping one child. It was about showing her that someone cared, that her life mattered. As she pulled back, Anna looked at him with a newfound determination in her eyes. "I'll do my best," she said. "I promise." "I know you will," he replied with a smile. Anna couldn't hold back her emotions any longer. The warmth of the jacket, the comforting weight of the pizza in her hands, and the gentle, unwavering kindness in William's voice overwhelmed her. She let out a shaky breath and threw her arms around him, hugging him as tightly as her small frame could manage. William was momentarily taken aback, but then he wrapped his arms around her, holding her with the same care he'd show his children. At that moment, all the noise of the city seemed to fade away. It was just the two of them, one man and one little girl, connected by a shared understanding of hope and humanity. Anna pulled back slightly, looking up at him. Her cheeks were streaked with tears, her eyes shimmering with gratitude. She whispered, her voice trembling but earnest, "Thank you so much." William gave her a reassuring smile. "You don't need to thank me, Anna. Just promise me one thing. Promise me you'll never stop dreaming. No matter what happens, hold on to those dreams of yours. They're what make you so special." Anna nodded fervently, her resolve strengthening. "I promise." Before William appeared, the little girl had to endure the cold alone. The stream of people hurriedly passed by, each carrying their own stories and worries. It seemed that no one stopped to notice her existence. A man in a smart suit, holding a briefcase, passed by without even glancing at her. A young couple, hand in hand, stopped for a few seconds to take a check-in photo with a trendy store nearby, then continued walking without paying any attention to the little girl huddled in a thin coat. There was an elderly woman wearing a thick fur coat, pulling a shopping cart, who slowed down when she saw the little girl. She hesitated for a moment, but after a few seconds, she shrugged and continued walking. A young man wearing headphones, his head bowed, looking at his phone screen, almost tripped over the little girl. He mumbled an apology without really looking at her, then quickly continued on his way. A small family passed by. The child in the mother's arms gently tugged on her sleeve, pointing at the little girl. "Mummy, why is she sitting there?" the child asked innocently. The mother glanced at the little girl, then bent down to whisper something to her child. The child was silent, but still looked back as they walked away. They did not stop. The little girl still sat there, hugging the sign to her chest, her eyes wide open, looking at the endless stream of people. High heels, sneakers, leather shoes passed her continuously, like a never-ending stream. No one stopped. No one asked if she needed help. Perhaps some people did not even notice her existence, caught up in thoughts about work, appointments, or personal problems. However, as the scene unfolded, a few passers-by began to notice. At first, it was just fleeting glances, curious looks at the man sitting on the cold pavement beside a homeless child. But then, as they saw Anna's reaction, the tears on her face, and the way she clung to him, something shifted. For many of them, Anna had been invisible just moments before. She was just another figure on the periphery, one of countless people struggling on the streets of London. But now, seeing her smile through her tears, they felt a pang of guilt. How many times had they walked past her without a second thought? William stood, brushing off his coat, and held out a hand to Anna. She took it, standing beside him, still clutching the pizza box close to her chest. He said, meeting her gaze, "I'm going to make sure you and your family have a proper place to stay, and I'll make sure you're back in school. This isn't the end of your story, Anna. It's just the beginning." As William began to walk away, the small crowd that had gathered watched him go. A few of them exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of curiosity and reflection. The story reached the ears of a local charity worker who decided to visit the area and look for Anna's family. When they found them at the shelter, they offered additional support, including warm clothing and meals. William's quiet act of kindness had created a ripple, inspiring others to step up and show compassion in their ways. True to his word, William didn't stop with pizza and warm clothing. Over the next few days, he coordinated with local organizations to secure a stable place for Anna's family to live. He made arrangements to cover the costs of her schooling, ensuring she had the supplies she needed to thrive. When he visited Anna again, she greeted him with a drawing she had made, a colorful picture of flowers and birds. "It's for you," she said, handing it to him with a shy smile. William looked at the drawing, his heart swelling with pride. "It's beautiful, Anna, just like your dreams." As Anna's life began to change for the better, so did the perspective of those who had once ignored her. People who had walked by her countless times now stopped to offer a smile, a kind word, or even a small gesture of help. The story of William and Anna became more than just an act of kindness. It was a profound reminder of the connections that bind us as human beings. In a city as vast as London, it's easy to overlook those who live in the shadows, to assume that their struggles are someone else's problem. But William's actions broke through that wall of indifference, showing that even the smallest gesture could ripple outward, creating waves of change. Anna's transformation was more than just material. For years, she had lived on the margins, her dream overshadowed by the relentless grind of survival. She had seen her mother work tirelessly, sacrificing everything to keep the family afloat. She had watched people pass by her on the street, their eyes sliding over her as though she didn't exist. But now, someone had seen her and had told her she was worth more. With William's help, Anna and her family moved into a small but comfortable home. The shelter they had once relied on was now a memory, replaced by the stability of a warm bed and a kitchen where they could cook their meals. Anna returned to school, her new backpack filled with notebooks and pencils, ready to draw the flowers and birds she had missed so much. She walked into her classroom on the first day. The shy, withdrawn girl who had once sat on the pavement was gone, replaced by a child who believed in her worth. Her teachers noticed the change immediately. "Anna," one of them said with a smile, "it's so good to have you back." But the impact of William's kindness didn't stop with Anna. Those who had witnessed the encounter on the street couldn't forget what they had seen. The businessman who had paused to watch found himself thinking about the homeless man he passed every morning on his way to work. The woman with the stroller began carrying extra snacks in her bag, just in case she met someone in need. Even the shopkeeper who had given Anna pastries started organizing food drives at his store, encouraging his customers to donate to local shelters. The story spread quietly, not through headlines, but through word of mouth. People talked about the man who had sat on the cold pavement with a little girl and changed her life with pizza, a jacket, and a promise. What if we all did something like that? They wondered. What made William's actions so powerful wasn't just the help he provided. It was the way he provided it. He treated her as an equal, someone whose dreams and struggles mattered as much as his own. By telling her she deserved a better life, he gave her something more valuable than material aid. He reminded her that her voice, her hopes, and her existence were important. This sense of dignity extended to her family as well. When William met Anna's mother, he spoke to her with the same respect and compassion. "You've done so much for your children." But he told her, "You've given them love and hope, even when things were hardest." That's not something everyone can do. Her mother, who had spent years feeling like she had failed her children, broke down in tears. For the first time in a long time, she felt seen and appreciated for her sacrifices. The story of William and Anna serves as a powerful call to action. It reminds us that we don't have to be royalty to make a difference. Acts of kindness don't require wealth or fame. They require only a willingness to notice, to care, and to act. William's actions urge us to ask ourselves, what can I do today to make someone's life a little brighter? For William, the encounter with Anna became a defining moment. It reminded him of why his position mattered, not for the privileges it brought, but for the opportunities it gave him to make a real difference. He continued to quietly support families like Anna's, often working behind the scenes, to ensure they had the resources they needed to thrive. But he also carried a deeper lesson from the experience: the importance of listening, of seeing people for who they truly are, and of treating them with the dignity they deserve. And for Anna, the experience became a cornerstone of her own story. As she grew older, she never forgot the man who had knelt beside her on the pavement and told her she was worth something. She carried that message with her, using it to inspire others as she pursued her dreams. The world didn't change overnight. There were still countless others like Anna who faced difficulties, but the story of her and William reminded everyone who heard it that change starts small. It starts with a moment of noticing, a moment of caring, a moment of saying, "You matter." And from there, the ripple spreads. Are there any additional stories that touch your heart that you would like to share with me? It would be greatly appreciated if you could share your thoughts with us by leaving a comment below. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you in the next video.